Hello, welcome back. So in the last video, we have seen types of machine learning. Then we have seen why neural network is so powerful nowadays due to data and the processing power right now what we have in hand. And at the end, we have seen the life cycle of machine learning or deep learning. Now in this particular video, we'll see the forward propagation. So if you already have a network in hand, then how you will move forward and get your answer, right? So that is the main focus of this particular video. So let's move forward. So when you see a network, we have two major things. One is forward propagation and the second is the backward propagation. Now on the top of it, we'll see the activation function as well. So this activation function will help us to make linear system into the non-linear. So we have seen in the previous lecture there are many non-linear systems, or you can say most of the systems are non-linear. So in order to introduce the non-linearity into the network, we are using the activation function. So we'll talk about that. So let's first understand how a deep neural network will be look like and what are the major things or major components of this deep neural network. So the very first thing is input layer where you will pass the data or you can say input data. Now we have one output layer, right, where you will get your final output, right? And in between we have hidden layers. So here just for example we have given two hidden layers, but in deep neural network there can be n number of hidden layers in between. Now what these layers will do, so as we have seen there was features into the nature, right? So these hidden layers are trying to make new features or you can say derived features that will help to get the final output or you can say the correct output. Now let's take one example here. So initially, let me say I want this neural network to find house price prediction. So in this case, let's say I have three features. One is the size of the house, then second is the location, and third one is the number of PHK. These three inputs we have given. Now here we want the cost of this house or you can say price of the house, right? So now what it will do, it will take these features as input and then try to make new features in this output. Now you can say what these lines are doing. These lines have weights. So you can say W1, W2, W3, W4, W5, W6 and so on. So Wn. So now what these weights are doing, they will take the size and it will create new features. So you can say these nodes are creating new features. Now while we are creating new features, how much weightage we are giving to the size, how much weightage you are giving to the location and how much weightage you are giving to the BHK, that will decided by these weights. Getting? Now again after getting new features here or you can say derived features, you are again derived more features here, and after that we are finally getting your final output, right? So this is known as forward propagation. So here you have features value, some input value, here you have new features or derived features, then further derived features, and finally you will get output. So similarly you can say if you are talking about the image, so now in this particular layer, input layer, you will pass the image. Now you can say how will pass the image in three input nodes. No, then it will not be three input nodes, it will be equivalent to the number of pixels in your image, right? So that many input nodes required because each pixel have different value. So you will pass each value because that is the feature of your image that we need to pass. So we'll pass the image into the network, and suppose it's a classification or you can say logistic regression, then you will get yes or no as a output. So in that way your network is working, and this is known as forward propagation. Ready? Now let's look into example. Suppose I want to buy a laptop. So once you are going to buy a laptop, what will be the basic features? You can say we are looking for screen size, we look for hard disk, we look for processor, we look for RAM, we look for battery. These features decide what will be the cost of our laptop. So now how it will work? Now we have given independent weights to these features. Now, how the value of weight will be decided? This will be decided based on the training. So, we'll see this in the next lecture. How we'll find out this W1, W2. So, in this moment, you can say we'll have a magic, that is the training magic, that will give you the correct value of W. Right? Once we'll get this W value, what we'll do? You will try to find out this Z value. How this Z value will be getting, we will say z1 equal to x1 into w1 plus x2 into w2 plus x3 into w3 plus x4 into w4 plus x5 into w5 plus 1 into b. This is known as bias. So we'll talk about this bias just within few slides. So here we will have this z1. Now this z1, in this moment, this is the linear function of weights and input. But this cost function, the cost of this computer is not linear function. So what we need to do, we have to introduce a non-linearity. So this non-linear function is known as activation function, which makes this Z1, which is linear in nature, into the non-linear. So we'll talk about activation function in upcoming slides. Now finally, the output will come into the Y. And what will be this output? This output will be, so in short form, if you are representing with the help of matrix, so W transpose X plus B. So that will be your Y value. And that will be your cost of your computer. Right? So in that way, you can say with this example, this is your forward propagation. If you have these magical weights in hand, then you can find out cost of a computer. Ready? Now, why W transpose X? You can say I am representing into the matrix, because that will makes your representation easy, your computation also easy, because ultimately then you will do a matrix multiplication. So suppose your X, your input will represent like X and your weights will represent like W. So you can say this is your W value and this is your X value matrix. So here we have X matrix, here we have W matrix. So what you will do, you will take transpose of W so that you can do a dot product between W transpose and X. So now once you do the dot product, what we will get? We will get W1 X1 plus W2 X2 plus W3 X3 plus W4 X4 plus W5 X5. So once you do this dot product, you will get this value. And this is what we was looking for. So that's why we are doing the W transpose X. Even many literatures are saying X transpose W. That will also give you the same result. So it is up to us what convention we are going to follow. But most of the places you will get W transpose X. Now let's talk about the activation function. This activation function help us to make system linear to non-linear. That is one important task of the activation. Right? So what it will do, it will take inputs from the previous layer, which is the linear combination of weights and your input, and then pass through it. And that will make a system non-linear. So suppose in one system or one function, I am taking like this. So here you have input, which is linear combination of weights and W and X, or you can say W transpose X. Now in this part, the output is between 0 and 1. Whatever value you will pass here, this W transpose X, it can be minus infinite to plus infinite, right? Then it will give you value between 0 to 1. Means ultimately this is a linear system that we are transforming into the non-linear system, because you have a value between 0 and 1 only, right? This is one kind of activation function, right? So what it will do, it will take a very big value and squares this into some special value, or you can say value between 0 and 1. In that way you are introducing non-linearity into the nature. So let's talk about few very popular activation functions. So first is the sigmoid, right? So in this sigmoid activation function, we have y cap equal to sigmoid of W transpose X plus B. Now what is this sigmoid function? So sigmoid function is 1 upon 1 plus e to the power minus z. Now let's look into this graphical manner. So this will, you will pass any value of x, the value of this sigmoid will be between 0 and 1. So if your value is less than 0, it will become 0.5 or below 0.5. If your value is more than 0.5, it will be, or you can say if your x is positive value, your sigmoid value is more than 0.5, right? If your x value is negative value, then it will be less than 0.5 and it will move ahead. So in minus infinite, it will be 0, and plus infinite, it will be 1. So this is your sigmoid function. Similarly, we have another activation function, that is tan h. So you can say the nature of sigmoid and nature of tan h is almost same. The major difference between them is sigmoid is changing from 0.5, but this tan h is changing from 1. So it has comparatively larger range. So the value is minus 1, 0 to plus 1. So this is your range, or you can say minus 1 to plus 1. This is the range of tan h. So this is symmetric, or you can say some reflection value you are getting from the central, right? So that is the beauty of the tan h. Now this another activation function, that is the ReLU. So what ReLU activation function is doing, if your value is positive, it will pass as it is. If your value is negative, it will give you 0 value. That is the ReLU activation function. So ReLU is known as rectified linear unit, right? So you can say if your value is positive, it will pass as it is same value, and if it is negative, it will pass 0. So the function is look like max of 0 comma z. Now what is the problem? All negative values it is making 0, but many times that is not good idea. So then what we'll do, we will make a leaky ReLU. What leaky ReLU is doing? Leaky ReLU is taking a smaller value of negative but equal value of positive. So it will able to take care the negative values as well, but their impact will be lesser. Then we have a term that is known as bias. What bias is doing? So bias is trying to solve two major problems. First is the cold start problem. What is this cold start? Suppose your all weights are 0. Then what will happen? Then bias at will save us to not giving output as a 0, because bias has some value, B has some value. So with that we are able, or you can say once your inputs, all the inputs are 0. Let's say I am putting a black image where all inputs are 0. So in that case your system will collapse. So bias will save us from the collapse, the collision of the system. On the top of it, let's look into this diagram. So if you are able to remember y equal to mx, y equal to mx plus c. So what was the C here? C was act as a bias. So you can say here if you have these three lines, so your mx value will remain same, but your C is changing. Same thing happened in the bias. You can say if you are trying to modify the curve, then your weight value is responsible. But if you don't want to modify the curve but just want to shift it in the horizontal direction, then your bias comes into the picture. So these are the two major reasons what bias is solving. So that's it for this video. Now we'll jump to the next video.